Some late night breaking news. The Illini get a new commit. And guess what? He's European too.
You are Locked On Illini, your daily podcast on the Illinois Fighting Illini. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome all to another breaking news edition of Locked On Illini. I'm almost getting tired of doing this, but not really, because it means usually that Illinois is bringing in some really high-quality players. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. My name is Sunny Verma, your host here at Locked On Illini. Again, I make content for you each and every day. You get one full episode, 30 to 40 minutes, and breaking news as it happens. Today, I'm going to be bringing on my friend JR to discuss the breaking news of David Mirkovic committing to the Illini. JR, thank you so much for coming on.
Great day to be an Illini fan, and Brad has a new pipeline. It's been there for a while. A confirmed pipeline to Europe. European Brad, I love it.
It's funny. So the real reason that JR is on, not that I don't value every time he comes on, is we literally just got done wrapping up tomorrow's episode. We had already filmed it. It's about, spoiler alert, Ian Jackson and the possibilities of him coming to Illinois. We finished. I got done editing. We went to go eat dinner, and I sent him a text. JR, David Mirkovic just committed. You want to come back on? So JR, being the good friend that he is, he's jumped right back on to talk to me about what I think is going to be Illinois' newest starting power forward next year. This is not a very well-kept secret. If you're in the Talk Illini Discord, you know that I hinted at this over the weekend, that this was a name that kind of came out of nowhere, but not really. David Mirkovic is a kid who played with Tomislav for SC Derby. He's very familiar with the Ivisic family. They share the same agent. And so once his name got dropped and leaked out, I noticed it came out on all the premium message boards, and it was kind of simply a matter of time when it would happen. And of course, it's going to happen late on a Monday night. JR, I'll give you the floor first. David, I know I asked you to watch some film on him. What do you think?
Yeah, very versatile scorer. I love him as a stretch four for this team. I think you're going to probably see him in the starting lineup at the 4 instead of Big Z. I do like that Big Z provides you that 5 option for when Big T comes out and everything. So I like this ad for him. I was a little concerned about Big Z and Big T next to each other. Not that I don't think they're good players, obviously, but they are so similar, trying to add some of that athleticism and stuff that you need. And I also think that Mirkovic. I get Ivisic. I got that right. So now I'm trying to think of Ivisic when I think of Mirkovic. Anyway. I think he brings a lot of really good things to this team. I think he's got a good physical build. I know some people were concerned about Big T and Big Z with their physicality down low. I think that he's going to bring that to him. And then also, I think really underrated passer as well. I don't think you get some of that in the scouting reports and stuff like that you read. From what I saw, he was a good passer. Looks like he was always looking for other guys, not just looking for his own shot. Overall, I really like this addition for Indiana. Fits Brad Underwood and what he wants to do really, really well. And I think he could be a star for the Illini next season.
Yeah, this is a pickup. I kind of share your enthusiasm, and it's because of if there's one guy I trust on Twitter when it comes to European prospects, I bring up his name constantly. His name's Arman Jovic, and you can find him at PDT Scouting. And 15 minutes ago, he released this tweet along with the video of David. So if you want to go find this tweet, definitely do. He says, "What is Illinois getting in David Mirkovic? Mirkovic is a 6'9", do-it-all big that will rank among one of the top European prospects in all of Division I next season. Mirkovic is a matchup nightmare with his ability to either shoot, post you up, take you off the dribble, or play make. He averaged 23.3 points per game, 14.7 rebounds per game, and 5.5 assists per game in the ABA under-19 this year, while shooting 42.3% from 3 on 6.5 attempts. Again, in the ABA. Armin says it's a fantastic pickup for Illinois. And again, I just love the fact that he teams up with his former teammates. There's going to be some chemistry that you hope there with Ivisic already. Now, it's not a home run signing necessarily, because I don't know. Let's just focus on the positives first, and then we'll actually just focus on what more Illinois probably needs. And I think you talked about it. I think Armand is another guy who we still needed a starting four, right? Obviously, Morez Johnson is gone. And if we were being real, David and Morez Johnson share very little alike. David is a guy, he's a very skillful scorer. He can hit the 3-point. I think I saw a stat that he hit 35% last year across all the different competitions. And that's kind of what Brad Underwood wants, right? With the type of offense that he's building. Now that we have a guy like Ty Rodgers coming back, you can still play Ty major minutes because all the other guys surrounding him can shoot the 3-pointer. Mirkovic is a guy who can make himself a little bit. I know I'm not trying to go crazy here, but other people are talking about his game being kind of like a college version of Jokic. Now, Jokic is going to end up being a top 10 player of all time. So obviously that's not the player comparison I'm giving it to, but it's kind of like a C+ watered down version of him. But again, most importantly, I just think that the key for Illinois right now is to continue to bring in really good talent, and Brad Underwood and Jeff Alexander and Orlando Antigua just continue to do so.
Yeah, no, totally, for sure. And I think as long as we're on the subject here and talking about percentages and stuff like that, does that fadeaway not look 100% like a Dirk Nowitzki fadeaway? I mean, look, I'm not trying to get people too excited, but man, the way he fades, the way he has that release point at the top there, the way it hits the rim and just goes right on in at times. I don't know, man. I loved Dirk's game, and I think watching Mirkovic next year, I'm going to be seeing some of that a little bit, and it's kind of a lost art, right? The mid-range fadeaway, it's a lost art. I don't know if Brad wants him to shoot it. Maybe Brad will tell him not to shoot. If he does,
no, Brad's not going to let him shoot it. Brad's going to tell him to step behind the 3-point line. We got 21 likes in here, and yet we have 140 people watching, guys. That math is not mathing. Every time we have a like spike on the show, we get good news. It happened a couple days ago. I asked you guys to like the episode. We got like a dozen. And then 6 minutes later, Jake Davis decided to announce him coming back to the Illini. So let's just keep that positive energy and vibes going on a Monday night where Illinois finally lands I guess they finally. See, this is how selfish I've gotten. Like, for us, it seemed like it's been forever, but the season literally just is ending tonight as we're recording this. So technically, the college basketball season isn't over yet. Illinois is able to get, at least what I am assuming is going to be their starting power forward. But Jared, after this, let's just talk about what maybe weaknesses David might have on next year's team. So David, again, I think is a very skillful offensive player, but I don't know if his skill set is exactly what Illinois probably needs right now. If anything else, with the remaining positions that we have left, we probably still have 2 or 3 roster spots available where we're going to invest significantly when it comes to the NIL. We're going to have to go for some physicality, some, dog. That's what the phrase I keep using, just tenacious type of players, because I know we're going to get to it later. I think, Caitlin, while I was putting the graphics together, I saw your comment. Defensively, he seems kind of slow-footed, kind of like the Ivisic brothers, and he doesn't seem like he's a really physical type of player, once again, kind of like the Ivisic brothers. So, when it comes to defense, especially when it comes to our big men, I think this is going to be a clear issue. But I think he more than makes up for it with his offense.
Yeah, I think he had some physicality on offense, and that's what gives me some potential, hope here, is that maybe that is just not translated to the defensive end because of his coaching or whatever else is going on over there right now. Is it possible that Brad and the coaching staff over there gets him to use some more of that physicality on defense? We'll see. I mean, I saw him getting down there and banging into guys and taking them out of the paint to get himself an open shot at times in some of the footage that I watched. So if that can be more consistent, but also use it with some of his finesse game of the fadeaway, I like it. But ultimately, as much as he is a matchup nightmare, on offense for other teams defensively, he is a little bit of that detriment. He doesn't really have much bounce. That's definitely something that is going to be an issue if he's playing at the 4 there. And then on top of that, I don't know if he's going to be able to keep up perimeter wise with some of the guys that could be on the perimeter this season in the Big Ten. Obviously, Ace Bailey's not going to be around anymore, but I look at a guy like that who played the 4 for Rutgers and just had this kind of crazy athleticism. Obviously, nobody is Ace Bailey next season, but still, if you run into a team like that, you could find yourself in a situation where Mirkovic is, getting eaten up a little bit by the other team. We'll see if it happens, right? I mean, I'm not predicting it, but it's definitely something that needs to be aware of.
Yeah, it's funny you talked about pipelines. Brad Underwood is apparently just building an all-Balkan front line, essentially. 6'9" power forward, David Mirkovic, 7'2" Zvonimir Ivisic from Croatia, 7'1" Tomislav Ivisic from Croatia as well. And another thing is, I talked about this on a previous episode, on Monday's episode, actually. David Mirkovic is going to be playing in the Nike Hoops Summit this week in Portland. And guess who one of his teammates is going to be during that tournament? Of course, because you were on the show with me, and that's Dame Sarr. So, this is one of those where I was kind of curious when he was going to announce his commitment. Some of you in the comments on Monday's episode asked when I thought it could be, and I said imminently. I genuinely believe it. Some of you asked for my confidence level. I said 90%. It was just a matter of time. I just didn't know it was going to be this quick. But, again, you can never be surprised really when it comes to the transfer portal. But getting back to the Dame Sarr situation, there's a lot of European flavor when it comes to this, the way Brad Underwood's putting this team together. But in a lot of ways, I understand the flaws with that. The European style of play over there is a lot different than what it is here domestically. But I also understand that right now, I think Brad and the relationships that he has over there through Orlando Antigua and Jeff Alexander, he's kind of exploiting the market a little bit. We're seeing what some of the prices of the guys locally are going: $4 million, $3.5 million, $3 million. A guy like Mirkovic, if he was in high school, would probably end up going for $1.5, $2 million. I do think that there's a European discount, and there's if nothing else, and this is what a comment that Armin Jovic, the guy who I referenced earlier, the scouting report, he said, there's a level of trust that Mirkovic has with Illinois, their coaching staff, and that's simply because of how they've handled the Ivisic family. And, Orlando's known the Ivisic family for 3 years now, right? He recruited and brought Zvonimir over to Kentucky 2 seasons ago. He helped him do all the paperwork, as the NCAA took their time in letting Big Z play. Finally, Big Z was able to play in January. Illinois was kind of dealing with a similar issue last year with Tomislav. But when Orlando was hired here at Illinois, his first grab was Tomislav Ivisic. And I think it happened maybe 2 weeks after his hire. The family absolutely trusts him. And that the Ivisic family had a lot of conversations with the Mirkovic family that ultimately brought David here.
Well, and you're in Champaign, Illinois. I mean, it sounds European, right?
I mean,
so they probably just thought Europe.
It's the Paris equivalent in the United States, Champaign, Illinois. I think we all widely agree.
No, but I was gonna say, I think that this is a really good move by Brad. I think that people get upset and annoyed with Brad with some of his in-game stuff, and you've not hidden that, right? You get frustrated about the in-game stuff too, but it's some of this stuff with the out-of-the-box thinking and getting players in. Because one of the best things about an ad like this is that Mirkovic is not somebody that is going to cost you a ton of NIL money because he's foreign and he can't make as much NIL money as some other players can. Same thing with Dame Sarr if they get him. You could still possibly bring Will Riley back, right? With an ad like this, you're not going to be spending so much NIL money that you can't do that. Obviously, Kylan Boswell needs paid. Obviously, you're going to have to pay some of the other guys on this roster as well. But if you have a starting lineup that includes Dame Sarr, Tomislav Ivisic, and Mirkovic, and then you have Big Z there on the bench, that's 4 really good players for this team that is probably costing less than a starter in the Big Ten on some other teams. I mean, it's a really good deal, and it's good for the players too. Like, it's not like they're getting cheaped out of it. Obviously, making some more money would help them, but it's not like they're getting cheaped out of it. They're coming here to America, display their skills, and playing in a system that's going to get these guys NBA ready. If there's anybody that can get you NBA ready, it's Brad Underwood. He's shown it time and time again. And that's one of the things that makes it so attractive to not just guys in the transfer portal, but also guys outside of the country that Antigua obviously has the connections with.
You're exactly right. And that's actually a fantastic point. We're talking about Yaxel Lindenberg, I think that's his last name. I think that's how you pronounce his last name, that committed to Michigan. And from what I've heard, he's commanded at close to $3 million next year when it comes to NIL to play for Michigan. Well, Illinois, between Tomislav, who's going to make right around $1 million, Kylan under $1 million, and Mirkovic, they've landed 3 of their 5 starting lineups for less than 1 Yaxel. And as we've talked about, Ivisic has the potential to be an all Big Ten, potentially one of the 5 best big men in the entire country. Kylan Boswell, senior year, Kylan Boswell is going to be one of the best point guards in the country. So, like, Illinois may not be flashing the big bucks that a lot of other programs are flashing, which, by the way, again, I'm going to repeat again. Ian Jackson entered the transfer portal from North Carolina. JR and I, right before we got this done, or started this, got finished wrapping up tomorrow's brand new episode talking about the possibilities of a guy like Ian Jackson coming to Champaign. Now, Ian would cost you a lot of money, but that's kind of our point. Like, it's kind of like a market inefficiency that Brad Underwood and the coaching staff is taking advantage of. But yeah, it can be frustrating for fans domestically who just aren't familiar with these names. It's not so easy to look up the dunking highlights of David Mirkovic playing, unlike it would have been if he was a high schooler in New York. We'd have a bunch of YouTube reels to be able to take a look at and highlights to highlight. Here, we're kind of just taking the word of a lot of international scouting. But if we're going to be real, like, Brad and Jeff and Orlando have a pretty good history of pulling from Europe. So this is one of those where they deserve the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, totally. I think at the end of the day, you just look at these games and you look at the type of game or the type of scheme that Brad wants to play. Everything here just fits together so well. Once again, for Illinois, it's going to be that you have a bunch of guys who fit the system well. You're going to put them all together. Can you actually make it happen during the season? One of these seasons, it's all going to click together at some point. You keep doing this enough, you keep putting good guys or guys in good positions with one another, it's going to click at some point, and that's what you love about Brad Underwood. You continue to see it happen. You continue to see him bring on good assistant coaches with some of those connections. I know people complain about Illinois assistant coaches, and I get it, but we also have to give them credit when they pull off moves like this, right?
And this is just one of those things I want to bring up before I get to the comments section, which I'm sure is going to be fun. We'll see. The point that I brought up since the beginning of the year is once we got Kaspersky Yakushonis here and once we got Will Riley here, I talked about one of the most important, if not the most important aspect of this season was going to be developing KJ and developing Will Riley. The reason being, and Tomislav, I didn't even mention Tomislav Ivisic. The reason being is the international community is going to pay attention. And the fact that Kaspersky is going to become a lottery pick, if not a top 5 NBA draft pick on June 25th. And Will Riley himself could be a top 20 pick. Tomislav Ivisic is going to come back. But obviously he had such a good experience that he convinced his brother to come join him in Champaign. And, hopefully next year, Big T is able to get some Big Ten accolades. You see that what the results are bringing, right? Now, all of a sudden, Illinois is a favorite to bring in a kid like Dame Sarr, one of the top European prospects out in Italy right now. Hopefully he can commit in the next week or two. And you bring a guy who's a very capable starting power forward, a guy like David Mirkovic, who's really only interested. There was no other schools really being mentioned with Illinois. Because as Armin said, there's a level of trust factor. And again, sure, we'd all love to get the top 5-star prospects that are out there. But, right now, the level of trust that Brad and the staff is bringing, it's bringing in talent to Champaign, and hopefully we can still fill it out with like 1 or 2 more superstars. But guess what? We have the NIL to do that now. We still have those funds available.
Well, and the thing people need to realize about NIL is not a constant, right? You get boosters and people excited enough, and this like your NIL chest grows. Like people are talking about Duke has an $8 to $10 million NIL chest. Okay, they do right now, but guess what? If they keep adding players, like when they added Cooper Flagg, I guarantee you had more boosters saying, "Okay, I'm going to keep spending because we got Cooper Flagg, so we have this opportunity here." A guy like David Mirkovic added in here. If you are able to get a Dame Sarr as well, if Will Riley is looking like he's possibly outside the top 20 in the NBA draft and stuff like that, and Brad Underwood goes to the boosters and says, "Guys, there's an opportunity. We can get Dame Sarr, Will Riley, Kylan Boswell, David Mirkovic, Tomislav and Ivisic, and Big Z coming off the bench. Do you want that?" And they're going to be like, "Yeah, I want that." It's like, okay, then pay up. It's like,
Exactly
this is how the NIL world works. And I think that's something that Brad Underwood has been getting more and more used to, and it's something he's getting better at. Thankfully for the house settlement, that didn't, get passed today, so this kind of stuff can continue and go on. Well, I say thankfully. Some people don't like it. I get it. But I think for this situation, it's thankfully because of what it can bring to Illinois.
All right, let's get to some of your comments right after this. Again, friendly reminder, if you're a part of the Talk Illini Discord, you knew about this over the weekend. His name started popping up. The link should be in the description. I can already see in the comments section, there's a lot of familiar faces. We're almost at 190 people, 190 Illini fans spread all across the country, all having a central place just to talk Illini sports all day, every day. So I highly recommend. And also, we are at 72 likes and 208 people watching this live right now. So let's get those likes. We have to hit 100 minimum to keep the positive vibes going, because who knows? If we get to 200 likes, Dame Sarr might be watching this show right now and be like, "You know what? I want in on this." And he might commit, because that's what happens when we have those like spikes on this show.
Sunny, and we need some 5-star ratings on podcasts too. I mean, I know we're live right now, but this is getting posted on podcasts later, people. Okay, if we're getting 5-star players on this team, we need some 5-star ratings. Am I right?
That's a true professional. JR, before we get to the comment section, can you let the folks know where they can find your work?
Yeah, you can find me over at the Big Ten Huddle, basketball and football. We have a football channel, the Big Ten Huddle -football. Just got done talking about some upsets and stuff. And Illinois was a team we mentioned as a team that could possibly upset another team. I wouldn't be too happy if it happened. If you know who I'm a fan of, you would get that sentiment there. But it was a really fun episode. Go check that out. And then the basketball channel got a live show coming out tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. And I'll be recording that tonight, and definitely we'll have some talk about this and some other players on it as well. So appreciate everybody that checks out this channel and that channel. We get crossover, and it's much appreciated.
Philip starts it, says the big TMZ nickname is finally complete. Absolutely. Caitlin says, is he physical, a capable defender? I'm assuming he can play offense, but we could use some physicality next to the Twins. Caitlin, you're absolutely right. This is still a concern. He's, as JR said, he's a bruiser kind of on the offensive end. He doesn't mind backing you down and playing. He's more physical than Tommy is, right? Tommy is he may be 7'1" and 260, but he's more of a finesse player. David doesn't mind backing you down. Defensively, I have the same concerns as you. I agree with you entirely. It's one of those where I hope we're not quite done when it comes to finding a rotational big man. I still think we need a 6'8", 6'9", pure athlete type of guy. Again, I keep bringing up his name. He who must not be named, who committed to that school up north, a version of him. I'm hoping we can find that type of player at maybe the JUCO level, who's got maybe 1 year left and he wants to be able to chance to prove himself at the highest level. Maybe you can get him at a good deal, just because those type of players are really hungry. I think Illinois has done a fantastic job bringing in skill to Champaign for next season, but they're still certainly missing what I think, Caitlin, your concerns are when it comes to just like a physical and even average to average plus defenders.
For sure.
Philip says he's 6'9", 250. I assume he's a little more physical player. Illini fan 1997 says not the quickest guy, but heard he uses body to his advantage, especially on the boards.
That's true. Really good rebounder. We forgot to mention that. Really good rebounder.
Jason Long, friend of the show, friend of the Discord, says, "Big Merc, bring Sarr with you." That's exactly right. And again, I think I'll probably be doing some watch along or something like that. If you want to watch the Nike Hoop Summit with me, and now you can officially say for sure you're watching one future Illini. And again, there's the potential you'll be watching 2 future Illini. Which again, think about it. That the international roster I think has 12 or 14 guys, and 2 of them are going to be Illini. Like that's an absolute compliment and a feather in Brad's cap that he's able to accumulate that talent and bring it to Champaign. Philip says all international team are at this rate. Yeah. Mile High says the highlights I've seen, he can definitely knock down the 3. Yeah, it depends on the league. I think or across all leagues, he averaged about 35%. I believe I read that stat. Feel free to correct me in the chat.
There was one league he was under 30. I think he was like 27% or something like that. But I think that was only like 3 games total. So I mean, when you're a shooter, you could have a 3-game stretch like that.
Yeah, and as I mentioned earlier, the one Arman mentioned, he shot 42.3. The way the European system works is a lot different, right? Like it's different teams, different leagues, and whatnot. So I'm just kind of trying to average out all of it.
Right.
Now let's see what else we got here. TJ Rogers has finished watching his game tape. I really like his game. TJ, so do I. Again, I see the downsides, or at least some of the flaws, in the fact that I do wish we got more of a bruiser to team up next to Tomislav. But I'm telling you, and I mean this honestly, I don't think there's a lot of teams in the entire country that are going to be able to match the skill level of Tommy, Big Z, and David. And the fact that they're all underclassmen, well, no, I guess they're now technically Tommy's a junior. Along with Z. But, the fact that we have those 3 guys, hopefully, again, as I mentioned, we can pair them with the bruiser. But when it comes to pure skill, I don't think anyone else in the Big Ten matches it when it comes to big men, the centers and the 4. I don't know, JR, you watch more Big Ten basketball than me. Am I talking out of place?
No, I don't think you're talking out of place. Honestly, I don't have any disagreement with what you just said. I agree with all of it.
Frank says you called this yesterday. Nice. Yeah, Frank, I knew it was just going to be a matter of time. I didn't know how quickly. I assumed it would happen before the Hoop Summit started, but the fact that it happened Monday night, it's good because it gets the positive momentum going. He can show up in Portland and talk to Dame and be like, yeah, I'm ready to do this. Are you ready to do this? Hopefully they can develop some good chemistry and teamwork, and we can get Dame to commit by the end of the summit. JR, your face is looking good according to the Willingness Month.
I asked about the hair and the hat last time.
That's true. That's true.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Phil Bast, how much does Ohio State JR fan fear Illinois and the big TMZ?
Oh boy. I mean, after that last game against Illinois, it felt like Illinois didn't play their best the entire time, and they turned it on at the end. So yeah, Philip, fear them a good amount at this point. So I have optimism, but that quickly goes away during the season. Kamana
says, "What's up, JR? You're a legend, and always glad to see you on the show." I absolutely agree.
Appreciate it.
Sean says, "Is Dame Sarr next?" That's my guess. I'm hoping we hear something. I know some folks were reporting it would happen Final Four weekend. Everyone I talked to didn't think it would happen that quickly. The soonest I think it can happen is by the completion of this Nike Hoop Summit. I don't think he's going to wait out on Will Riley, but because Will Riley could take another month to figure out what he wants to do with the NBA. I think worst case, it could happen by the end of the week, by the end of the summit thing. I believe it ends on Saturday or Sunday. And then if, Will decides to come back to Illinois and Dame doesn't want to play with him, which is a possibility, Dame might move on from that point. But I think right now, if it comes to college basketball and you're an Illini fan, I would feel very confident.
Well, you think that you could get both of them though, right? Like, I mean, maybe not like relationship wise, like working together, but like NIL wise and stuff like that, you could get both of them, right?
I don't think NIL would be the issue here. I think it's simply Dame's team and the people around him. At least they've vocalized that they envision Dame playing Will Riley's role. And so if Will comes back, obviously Will's going to be the number 1A, the alpha. And so I've heard that there's reservations. I'm not saying they won't play together, but I'm just saying that if Will does decide to come back, I think there will be conversations between the staff and Dame about how Dame can slide next to Will. Because I'll be honest, if your starting lineup next year includes Tomislav at your 5, David at your 4, Will Riley as your 3, Dame as your 2, and Kylan Boswell as your point guard, that's a championship caliber starting lineup when it comes to everything. Skill level, defense, sure, it's going to need some help, but that's just we'll see what happens. We have all off season.
I don't think people realize how beneficial it is to have a number 1 defender like Kylan Boswell, though. Like, I get what everybody's saying, and I just said it about Mirkovic myself, and Will Riley obviously had some improving to do in areas. I don't think people truly like what Kylan Boswell was able to do to some guys like Braden Smith this year. Nobody. I shouldn't say nobody. Not a lot of teams in the Big Ten and in the nation have a guy on their team like Kylan Boswell, where you can just say, "Yeah, go guard Braden Smith. Okay, we got that one locked up. We're good." Like, maybe he's not going to have him be 0 points, but he's not going to let him go off and get 30.
Exactly. And again, it's his senior year, and he's really embraced the leadership role of this basketball team. Like, he wants to be the leader. Like, look, Illinois got embarrassed at Madison Square Garden against Duke, but there was one guy playing as hard as he was at opening tip-off than when they were down 40 points, and that was Kylan Boswell. And I really think that it wasn't by accident. Like, as soon as the Kentucky game ended, I came on here and I literally said, starters announced their return because Kylan said he was going to return, and Trey White used verbiage that sounded like he might be returning. I said, Kylan, I absolutely believe. Trey White, we'll see what happens. And who figures? I actually got that one right with Trey White not coming back. But yeah, I think Kylan is a very key cog in all this, just because in the game of college basketball, in particular, in March, you want to have guards that you're comfortable with. And there's not many teams out there that I would trade my starting point guard, having a senior year Kylan Boswell, than someone else might have. Mm-hmm. Old School Fitness says Tommy 25 minutes a game, his brother 15 minutes a game. That's ideal, right? 40 minutes of Ivisic. That's what I want. Having Ivisic on the court at all times. Playing together, I don't want to experiment with it too much because I just don't have very high hopes for it. But bringing in a guy like David, again, gives you a 4 there to space things out.
Keeps him fresh, too. Keeps him fresh.
Kevin says Riley would be my main focus for the sophomore year. 100%. And he is. I assure you, the coaching staff, whatever NIL funds that we've discussed on this show when it comes to, going out for other talent. Again, spoiler alert, you guys who've been here to the beginning of this episode know tomorrow's episode is about Ian Jackson, whether Illinois could be a match for the guy who's a number 8 overall prospect last year, a 5-star from North Carolina, decided to enter the transfer portal. And I talk about the connections that Illinois has with him. That's going to take a lot of NIL. Will Riley's decision is independent almost of all of it. There's a set of money, a pot to the side for Will that Brad Underwood can dip into if Will decides that he wants to come back to play. Justin says Riley would be a killer next year. Be surprised if he doesn't go to the NBA. Justin, I agree. Again, when people ask me, I put it 15, 20% chance that he returns. Jason says, so chat, Sarr or Riley, who would you want more? JR, you and I kind of discussed this already. It's a no-brainer with Riley. Riley,
product.
Yeah, you've seen what he's capable of doing. He was the best player on your team for the last month of the season. And he very well, if he returned to the Illini next year, he has the potential to be an All-American type of player. Sean says Shea Bolin entered the portal. Absolutely. Unfortunately, the women's team also is not immune to the transfer portal. Good luck to Shea. He didn't play all year last year, but hopefully she can find a good spot. I do know that.
Did they get their European pipeline going?
Not yet. Hold on. Maybe Brad and Orlando can make a couple phone calls.
Just get the European women over, and everything will get better. Okay.
Jason says that getting Sarr and Riley would be wow, but 1 out of the 2, I would take Riley year 2. I think that should be the consensus. Jay says, where's Sarr? 1 more week, Jay. I'm not predicting it, but I'm just saying there's whispers out there. Nolan says if Riley comes back, we could be scary, but we might need to score 90 a night to beat anybody that can score. The offense needs work. The defense needs work. The drop coverage that Brad is insistent on. The thing is, usually assistant coach hirings and firings don't happen until after the season is over. And so now I think, especially with the roster slowly coming together, I'm going to do an episode about this sometime this week. Again, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Low key, if you take a look at the 1 to 11 guys that Illinois has, Brad's only going to play 9 of them. We have 9 players on this team essentially already. So the roster itself, outside whoever's going to be your superstar on next year's team, is kind of set. All right. Deloney says, will there be any eligibility issues with these Euro guys like Big T had last year? Who knows? But, at this point, Orlando handled Big Z's and he handled Big T's. So at this point, I feel like he probably already has a file in his computer, or he can just, boot up ChatGPT and be like, hey, can you print out the form from last year? Jay says, dude just looks like a 3-point shooter to me. Just a few highlight clips. Yeah, Jay, again, that's the problem, right? With European players, we don't have the big catalog of highlights that we can kind of go back to or talk to all the numerous amount of, scouts from an On3 or 24/7 and get a scouting report from them. When it comes to the international players, we have a smaller pool to watch all this from. Nikki says Ty and Kylan are defensive dogs. That's right. We didn't even bring up Ty.
Yeah, what's his role in this? I mean, he's got the bounce. He's got the athleticism and everything. I don't know how he fits into this lineup very well, but...
Well, the good thing about Ty Rodgers is he brings you flexibility, right? You wish he was maybe 2 inches taller. He's at, 6'6" or so. But as we talked about, the other 3 guys, they're more finesse players. Ty Rodgers and Kylan Boswell are 2 of those, the dogs that I keep referencing that this team needs more of. Ty is a guy who, in a small lineup, he can be your 4. On a big lineup at 6'6", he could be your shooting guard. So the thing I like about Ty is, he does bring a defensive tenacity that the rest of the roster really kind of doesn't. I mean, can you imagine being an opposing point guard and having Kylan Boswell and Ty Rodgers harassing you all night long? That in itself is one overlooked aspect of all this, I feel like.
Yeah, totally.
Mike asks, is Sarr good at defense? Sarr is very athletic and he can be a good defender, but he's more raw. He's a better defender than Will Riley was, at least based on the tape I've watched. But, Will, he grew into being a pretty decent defender. Sarr is one of those players where we'll see kind of what happens. Lazy says, my sources have told me Will Riley is seriously considering returning to be a lottery pick next year. At some point, I'm going to be, I think, 2 weeks ago, I released an episode about should KJ stay or go. I'm going to be doing that for Will Riley too, kind of comparing the monetary value of whether it's more beneficial to stay and get paid late first round money or come back and possibly jump into the lottery, like you said. Caitlin also says, if the Bigs can outscore the amount of points they give up, that's fine, I guess. Yeah. I've always, JR, I don't know about you, but I've always felt like if you outscore the team you're playing against, you have a pretty good chance at winning.
I've heard that's the key to the game. Yes.
All right. Fedigator says we need 1-2 athletic long wings and an NBA level guard. Yeah, I mean, we need athletes now. If right now the good part of our roster pretty much being done is we can focus and narrow what this team needs now. And right now, the only thing this team absolutely needs is just athletes, strong, bruising, physical type of players. The skill is already in that locker room moving forward. Jared, you agree?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Just bring in as many athletes as you can.
All right, let's see if there's anything else. I think we'll just wrap it up here, JR. Thank you so much for coming. Can you let the folks know one more time where they can find your work?
Big Ten Huddle, football and basketball. The Big Ten Huddle - football is the football channel. The basketball channel is the Big Ten Huddle - basketball. Basketball every Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday morning at 9 a.m. Football every Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday night at 9 p.m. So magic number 9. Just check us out then.
I appreciate each and every one of you. Again, you'll have a new episode. You already had a new episode today. This is a breaking news episode. You'll have a new one tomorrow at some point where I'm going to talk about, could Ian Jackson be a good fit for this Illini team? You'll have content all day, every day. Make sure you hit the like button on your way out. 103 likes 192 people in here. So on your way out, hit that like button and make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Until next time, ILL. Love you guys.